welcome to My Career in Data, a podcast where we discuss with industry leaders and experts how they have built their careers. I'm your host, Shannon Kemp, and today we're talking to Ronen Schwartz from K2view.
With a robust catalog of courses offered on demand and industry-leading live online sessions throughout the year, the DATAVERSITY Training Center is your launchpad for career success. Browse the complete catalog at training.dataversity.net and use code DVTalks for 20% off your purchase.
Hello and welcome. My name is Shannon Kemp and I'm the Chief Digital Officer of DATAVERSITY. And this is My Career in Data, a DATAVERSITY Talks podcast dedicated to learning from those who have careers in data management, to understand how they got there and to talk with people who help make those careers a little bit easier. To keep up to date in the latest in data management education, go to dataversity.net/subscribe. Today, we are joined by Ronen Schwartz, CEO at K2view, and normally this is where a podcast host would read a short bio of the guest, but in this podcast, your bio is what we're here to talk about. Ronen, hello and welcome.
Hi, Shannon. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. Okay, so tell me, you're the CEO at K2view. So tell me, what type of business is K2view?
K2view is in the business of basically optimizing your data and your data usage, especially in this exciting time of agentic world, right? The data has always been one of the biggest assets of every business, every company, arguably even every person. But this time, I think the data is even more important because with all the advance in the industry around AI, Gen AI, et cetera, your data can actually bring even more value to the company, to the company's customers, to the employees, et cetera.
Very cool. And as the CEO, what does your job look like? What do you do?
It's a very good question. I love that question. I think the CEO job, I want to say, is very much focused on the direction of the company. I think working a lot with customers. As awake as I look, I actually just landed back from visiting a customer in Atlanta this morning. So working a lot with customers, and I think really trying to help the team and help the customers achieve the most with their data.
Oh, that's very nice. So you travel a lot?
I do. I think especially when you're in a time of a change, and we are at that time of a change, it's really important for the CEO, but I think actually even for many people in the organization to have the right pulse. And there is nothing better than time spent with customer to get the pulse on what they're doing now, what challenges do they have, what opportunities they're trying to pursue. So I do spend it, I think, more than 50% of my time directly with customers.
Very nice. So why the name K2view?
K2 is the second tallest mountain, but it's probably is very well known for being the hardest mountain to climb. And getting a real-time view of your data is also one of the hardest things to do. So I think K2view is coming to basically address that problem. That's kind of the origins of the name.
I like it very much. So tell me, how do you work with data in your job?
I think data is kind of in the center of everything that we do. Anywhere from looking into what our customers are doing today and how can we help them do more, into identifying problems in early stages, even before the customers are feeling the challenge, all the way into the market potential, prospect, the customers that we are working with. And I think I will say that the job of the CEO is basically to try and lead with data is probably a better leadership. There are other important things in leadership, but leading and making decisions based on data and putting a culture that basically the organization act on data is definitely core. I will say that one of the things that K2view is embedded and that I'm really, really, I'll call passionate about is implementing and embedding into our products the collection of data, not for us, but for the customers, so that the customers can basically go into continuous improvement. So I think there is data in everything that we do, and I think for me as a CEO, it's what guide me in decision where to invest, who to work with, who to partner with, in what way. But it's also on, I'll call it like the daily meet is preparation for every meeting, is preparation for every issue, and so on.
Oh, yeah. I love that, leading with data.
Yes, yes. And I think it's interesting today how much work can how much work can be done for you if the data is available. I'll tell you something, and I used it even in this case, that before every meeting that I go to, I actually in a almost fully automated way, I can see the person that I talked to, the information that was gathered about that person previously. And if you're a customer of ours, I can actually see the entire 360 view of the entire work that we do together. In the past, it will take me a good hour or two to get prepared right. Today, this is actually coming and pushed to me in a proactive way. I think we are in a new era, in an era that the data is so accessible and available, even without you needing to do a lot of work.
Oh my gosh, I hear you. I have the same experience.
Yeah.
It is very true. Yeah.
It looks like some tasks that used to take us a very, very long time previously. Now with accessibility to your data, the enterprise data, not just the LLM, but also your data, could be automated to a way that I think was hard to imagine previously. And that actually becomes it brings productivity. It helps on customer satisfaction. It helps on a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I just had a conversation with a colleague. She's like, "Oh, when did we talk about?" I'm like, "Oh, well, let me ask. Let me ask Copilot. When did we talk about that? Let's go through the notes."
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
in the past, you would search a bunch of emails, you'll need to open them, etc. Now it's actually just in your fingertips.
Yep.
And I think getting to emails, and I'll call it like the unstructured data, is one thing that I think has been fully achieved. K2view is putting a lot of focus on actually making every data that exists in every application, in every database, accessible in the same way. So that even if you ask a question like, why is my bill this month higher than my bill last month? Basically, it's as simple as like, okay, something behind the scenes will identify your previous bill, your current bill, will compare it, look into a variety of things that have changed, and will be able to hand the answer in a way that is fully accurate. It's actually amazing what could be achieved today.
I agree. It's so fun.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's back it up a little bit and talk about how you got into what you're doing. So tell me, Ronen, when you were, say, 6 years old, what was the dream? Was it did you say to yourself, "I'm going to grow up and be the CEO of K2view," or what was the dream at 6?
Yeah, I wish it was a joke, but my mom said that I managed my parents and my sister from a very young age, or at least tried to, right? I wouldn't say successfully have accomplished that, but tried to.
Yeah.
But I think my dream was basically to be an engineer and really build something that will make a difference. So if you would ask me, I don't know if it's 6, but probably at 10, what do I want to do? I think engineering was one of these, I think, like very high on my list, with a dream of building something that have not been built previously. As I got to a little bit of a later age, I got to this like total belief that software will eat everything, and that if you really want to build something significant, it should be software. But that was a later realization. I think CEO is basically something that the road, I think, took me. I think for me in my priorities, people, building teams, and I think looking and choosing strategic direction has been an area that I always, I think, enjoyed. And I think from that to leadership, I think, so, life takes you there.
Oh, well, certainly. Okay, well, if we're getting a foundation here, so you have the mindset of a manager as a kid, you want to be an engineer. So as you start going older, did you continue, like, start focusing? You said you wanted to get into software, and so is that what you started studying and reviewing? And then what was the first job?
Yeah, so for me, choosing engineering was the first one, and this was when just for the audience, even if I look young, I was actually like a first generation when IT actually became a thing, and you can actually start learning information technology. So I took the route of computer science and information technology. It's kind of the combined route in both my my BSc and my MSc. So that was kind of my direction. So software, and then it looks like information technology would be an area of focus. I think after that you start program, and then I went into something that was called decision support system. Today we'll call it AI, but back then it was all about stochastic models and optimization, really about resource allocation and things like that. And as part of doing that, I had the opportunity to work on ERPs and other things, and that was the first time that I understood that behind everything there is data, and data is kind of in the core. And once I kind of lit into that, then for me the rest of my career was all about data. It was a partial, a few startups that were trying to innovate in the area of data migration. Integration, industry standards for how to share data across organization, and then large companies, ETL, data warehousing, analytics, data lakes, iPaaS, and so on. So I think that's kind of, I think my career in a very short way.
I love that. So really, you've been involved in data your entire career.
It's very true, from a very, very early stage of really optimizations, and I think like the earlier stages of AI, all the way into middleware and integration. My focus have been always data.
Visit DATAVERSITY.net and expand your knowledge with thousands of articles and blogs written by industry experts, plus free live and on-demand webinars covering the complete data management spectrum. While you're there, subscribe to the weekly newsletter so you'll never miss a beat.
Tell me, Ronen, what are some of your big career jumps that led you from working on the back end to, you said, BI and warehousing?
Yeah, I think if I look into my career, then I think going from the two early stage startups and getting acquired by Informatica, who is a leader in the data space, have been, I think, one area of growth. I think the startup world offer you an ability to experience things in a very accelerated, fast way. And then when you land into an established market leader, I think with an amazing CEO, Soeb Abbasi, you kind of get the enterprise and scale parts suddenly very, very ingrained in you. So I think this combination of the agility of a startup together with like the scale and the strategic thinking, I think putting both of them together in my earlier time in Informatica was actually, I think, a big jump for me, and something that really shaped how I look into things. I think for me, the second time that I think I had, I call it like a real jump, was when Informatica became private. And just around that time, I had the opportunity to basically bring into the market, together with Gartner analyst Massimo, together with Boomi as a competitor, to bring a whole new technology called iPaaS. So really inventing something that I think was not there before. Informatica was in the cloud integration, other things, but really putting it as a platform, as integration platform, etc., I think was for me the second time Just the ability to see a whole market that did not exist suddenly existing and solving real problems and really helping acceleration was the second time. Um, I think the next jump is the jump that I experienced when I moved to NetApp, and I think for me, NetApp taught me a lot of things. One of them, and again, I had like an amazing mentor there, George Korean. I think NetApp taught me about the strength of combining hardware with software, but it also gave me this unbelievable view into the hyperscalers and their innovation. And part of that was actually seeing the Gen AI evolution in very, very early stage. NetApp was a key partner of Google, of Microsoft, and AWS. And as OpenAI was starting to introduce, it's more than 3 years ago, Gen AI, working in NetApp and working shoulder to shoulder with the Google engineer and the Microsoft engineer and the AWS engineer, you kind of get to see the early stages of this evolution. And to be to kind of share with the audience, that's what led me into K2view, because seeing this big change that is happening in the Gen AI and kind of combining it with the Informatica DNA of data, putting both of them together, kind of put the urge in me to work again in the startup environment and join K2view that had a very unique secret sauce in how to handle data for real time and for Gen AI, and really bring that into the market at that critical time.
That's quite the story, and that's quite the experience in transitioning back and forth between startup and enterprise level business, corporation. How did you learn and make those adjustments from one to the other? What helped you in those transitions?
I was blessed with something that I'll call like this unbelievable curiosity, and I think curiosity is kind of key, because that kind of drives you, no matter which environment you're at, to continue and actually stretch what is possible and how it's possible. I already mentioned two mentors of mine. I'll mention a third one, Anil Chakravarthy, that was the CEO in Informatica, and today is one of the leaders in Adobe. He was actually he brought I think a lot of the McKinsey kind of strategic view, and I found that strategy together with a lot of curiosity is helping you discover, I think, kind of the next blue ocean, the next thing. So I think curiosity for me was key in order to transition in general and transition from very different environments.
Yeah, we talk a lot about curiosity in this podcast. It seems to be the common the common thread amongst data practitioners, especially.
Yes, I can easily see why, and I think it's an amazing gift, because it makes every day, everything, even the biggest challenge, it makes it exciting, right? It's basically seeing what is kind of next.
Yeah, indeed. And some bold moves in your career. That's commendable. Some things that I know some people would find daunting or challenging, or to do those big moves.
Yeah,
So.
I think I personally I would not find it as a challenging or bold. I think a lot of it is about basically being happy, and I think if you do what you like and you do exciting and interesting things, what more can you ask, right? And so I've been blessed from that perspective. I think I don't remember a day in my career that I was bored. So. It doesn't mean that every day is easy, but they're at least not boring.
I understand that very much. Okay, well, tell me what has been your biggest lesson so far in your career.
I don't know that I can point into one, but maybe let me try. Let me make an effort. I think that innovation is happening where technology is actually meeting a customer. And I think really investing deep into the technology and creating differentiated technology but really putting it in the perspective of the value that it brings to the customer is where magic happening. Now, if I go and say like, okay, where is the lesson? I think there are a few lessons that I at least learned. The first one is deep technology have huge value. And if you create a differentiated technology, you have a potential to get a lot of value. The second lesson there is that without the right customer angle, even this beautiful technology is actually you don't actually see the value or you're not able to surface the value out. The only other thing that I'll say is that investing in technology, and for me it's the data side of the technology and the right technology. Sometimes timing and readiness of other technologies and dependencies is critical. So you need I think, as I said, deep technology, putting it in the right perspective of the customer, and actually get the timing right so that the ecosystem is ready for big changes. If I look into my career, you are seeing a lot of changes. And, like everybody's saying like, oh my God, like this AI is the biggest change that happened ever. I remember that the same thing have been said about cloud, and separately for the SaaS part of it, the application going to the cloud, and the hyperscaler and the PaaS going into the cloud, and similar things have been said about other things as well. So innovation in the connection of technology and the customer, and getting the right ecosystem at the right time.
I like it. So, Ronen, tell me, having worked in data your entire career, and having such a passion for it, what is your definition of data?
I think in the simplest way, digital is a manifestation of the reality, but in the way of bits, right? So you and I are speaking right now. The data behind it is a bunch of zeros and one that capture our conversation. It's a bunch of zeros and one that actually have the background and our faces on the screens, etc. In a more particular way, at least in the way that I've been using data, I want to look into data as almost like digital twins that kind of represent business entities, that represent employees and customers and transactions, etc. In a digital way. This is data for me. I didn't go into the philosophical sides of it and so on. I can, but I will avoid it in this case and just stick to this ones and zero that represent the reality.
I love that digital twin. That's one of my new favorites, I gotta say, because that's very appropriate. Someone also mentioned to me that their definition of data was it was a human byproduct.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, which kind of fits. So tell me then, do you see the importance of data management and the number of jobs working with data increasing or decreasing over the next 10 years, and why?
I think in today's world, almost every one of us is working with data a lot. So if you're looking into like just who is working with data, the number is basically is very high percentage of the overall population that is in the workforce. I think the type of work with data is the part that is changing, not the amount of people. I think in the past, people that worked with data were actually looking into data and trying to analyze it, trying to get conclusions, trying to do the right thing, no matter if the right thing is giving the right answer over the phone or the right thing is, I don't know, building a 3 years plan for a large company. I think the next phase of working with data will actually be about driving or building agent that will, I think, automate and automate things, anyway, from automate recommendation all the way to automate very large processes, and also about how to work with these agents. So I think the future is not just working with data, but working with intelligence that works with the data directly. I think that's going to be a big change for all of us. We're going to the early stages on a daily basis right now, but I think as years are going to come, the level of automation and dependency that we'll have, not on the data, but basically on the agent that use the data, is going to grow and grow further.
Yeah. Do you see that the jobs around the data feeding the agents changing at all?
I think the level of change we're at right now means that most jobs will change, including the jobs that work with data. I think instead of people working in fixing certain things in a manual way or in a semi-automated way, there'll be significantly more focus on creating these agents that are going to do the continuous work, the tedious, repeatable work, so that the data is staying current, the data is accurate, etc. I think there is also a whole new set of data that we will work with that we don't work with today. I think today, you and I are meeting here over video. So like video is like, oh, we're doing it, but the level in which we're using data that is captured through video is actually very little. It's like, hey, we'll get a transcript here at the end and so on, but the level of analysis of the videos. So I think there is also going to be a lot more data being captured, a lot more sensors, because the minute that you can actually process more data, automate what you do with the data, then suddenly the hunger to collect more data and really leverage to the full ability is going to grow. So I think to your original question, the jobs of how you work with data will change. The amounts of data being collected will change significantly and grow significantly. And I think going back to the curiosity part of it, I'm really anxious to see that happening.
I'm with you, yeah. I can tell you, I'm having fun watching and using and learning. So tell me, Ronen, what advice would you give to people who are looking to get into career in data management?
I think my advice is actually will be in two parts. I think the first part is you have to understand the technology, and the technology is changing fast. So it's almost like it's not a one-time advice to get up to speed. It's actually is like you have to stay up to speed and really understand the technology and the technology stack that is involved with data. The other advice is you have to understand the business usage and the business goals and how does data actually, I will call it like impact the business itself. I think data as a pure thing without the business is relatively meaningless. I think business that is not based on data is also not that valuable. So my advice will be aim at the combination of the two and invest your time, efforts, and education in both of them. That's why I really like people that, and I think today it's become more and more modern, that they basically learn. They learn even on their first degree. They are actually learning more than one topic, and I think putting these things together will be unbelievably valuable.
Indeed. Oh, well, Ronen, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask if somebody wanted to find out more about K2view, where would they go?
I think K2view.com is a great place. And I think Ronen.Schwartz at K2view.com. I would love to continue the conversation. And Shannon, thank you. It was amazing to have this chat. I didn't notice how fast time fly.
Likewise. Well, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us today.
Thank you. And thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
And thanks to all of our listeners out there. If you'd like to keep up to date in the latest podcasts and in the latest in data management education, go to dataversity.net/subscribe. Until next time, stay curious, everyone. Thank you for listening to DATAVERSITY Talks, a podcast brought to you by DATAVERSITY. Subscribe to our newsletter for podcast updates and information about our free educational webinars at dataversity.net/subscribe.